Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the SoCap Improv Comedy Podcast. My name is Ralph. I'm the owner and artistic director of the SoCap Improv Comedy Theater in Toronto, Ontario. We are located at 154 Danforth Avenue, above the Black Swan Tavern. We're on the second and third floor. We have improv classes, improv shows, corporate events. You can rent our space and do your own thing. And it's a fun place to hang out in a world that is not driven by, but is increasingly becoming lonelier and lonelier. It's a good place to have to come and form bonds and relationships with people. Anyway, this is a podcast about improv and improv for the stage, but more specifically, or at least as much, I try to gear these discussions towards people who are not performers. So people who come and have an interest in improv or want to know, well, hey, Ralph, I'm a person who does blank. Why would I want to take an improv class? I don't understand. I don't want to be Tina Fey or Lauren Ash or some of these other great improvisers turned actors. That's a fair question. So that's what this podcast talks about. Every podcast has a sponsor. We're no different. Today's podcast is brought to you by Pontius Pilates. That's right, Pontius Pilates. If you're looking for a tough workout, well, this one will crucify you. So we're hoping that you'll check out our sponsor, Pontius Pilates, and go and get in some work. Ever taken a Pilates class? I take yoga. I participate in a yoga class now once a week, and it's great. It targets all the parts of my body that I want to ignore. Not ignore, that I don't want to work out so much. So it's great for me. It's great for core, my legs, strength, balance. It's great. So I recommend yoga to everybody out there. At least try it, and that's just a recommendation. Here's the thing. When I recommend something, I'm not saying you need to do it. I'm thinking, it's just information. You can take it or not take it. It doesn't matter to me. You know you. Anyway, I have to say that because sometimes people get mad at me because I don't say often enough that this is not direction or advice. It's just information. Anyway, I love yoga. Check it out. Or don't. Anyway, today, what I want to talk about, because it comes up quite a bit, it's come up a bit late, often lately, is why do we laugh? What is that about? The laughter that comes in improv on stage, or the spontaneous kind of laughter that happens when you're hanging out with really good friends. Because if you pay attention, if you are an improviser and you're in a class or you're in a show, more than a class, specifically, there's a lot of laughter. And then when you stop and you say, well, why was this thing funny? Most people don't know, or they don't have an answer. I think we all kind of assume that we laugh at things that are funny. Well, what's funny? And that's a whole other discussion. But when we laugh in improv, the laughter that happens in improv is, especially the belly laughs, are much less about saying funny things and more about bonding and communicating and finding your group, your tribe. That's where a lot of the laughter comes from. So for example, there's this exercise, the word of the time game, where you will have two people, and they will take turns saying the next word in the sentence. It's like, so character A might say one, character B, day, character A, there, character B, was a giant monster, whatever. And that's often very funny when you watch people do it. There's a lot of laughter, but you get more laughter when the sentence makes grammatical sense, when it is a sentence that everybody recognizes as a sentence. It can be somewhat ludicrous in the answer, and often these answers are. But the more that sentence is something that we recognize as a sentence, and I know what's going on, I will laugh. That will get much more laughter than a sentence that is disjointed, that isn't a real sentence, or that doesn't make a lot of sense. This one happened. This is a typical one that will happen. Two characters, two individuals, not characters. They're playing one character. They're two individuals, and they're trying to say a sentence. And this happened a few weeks ago, in one of my classes for beginners, and they they were asked what they were doing, and they responded, "I am walking my," and the person who had the next word, the word dog, was halfway out of their mouth, and they stopped and they said fish. "I am walking my fish." And nobody laughed. And everybody just kind of stood around and looked at them instead of laughing. And I stopped and I said, "Why didn't you say dog?" And they were, well, it was too obvious. It seemed, it's got to be better than that. And that's not true. If it said dog, we would have laughed. The thing is with the saying, "I'm walking my fish," the audience or the people watching this, or if you're not on stage and you're with a group of people at a gathering or something, and that happens and you say fish or something that is quote unquote weird. And when I say weird, what I mean is something that I don't see in my regular life. And I can't relate to walking a fish. I have an image in my head of a fish with a leash on it. The fish is in like an aquarium, and the person's walking around. Uh, and it's not to say that that cannot be funny, but it's not funny in that context. And for me, what happens is it's just odd. And the audience or the people watching this who are participating in it as spectators don't laugh. And to me, what happens is when you walk a fish, they get a little panicky because they think maybe I'm missing something. Maybe this isn't for me, and they pull back and they don't laugh because it's not for them. It's like hearing the punchline of a joke and not getting it, and everybody else is laughing, and you're the only one not laughing. You'd feel very, well, first of all, you'd probably fake the laugh and say, "Oh, good one. Yeah, I love that joke. I'm going to steal it." And you try to bluff your way into being accepted. But if you didn't get it, you would not like that joke, and you would get out as fast as possible, like get out of that place. And this is the same thing that happens on stage. And the tendency among newer improvisers and even people who've been doing it for a long time is to be funny. I want to be funny. And what people think is going to be funny is not, because it's just odd. "I'm going to walk my fish" is just an odd statement. And without having context for why that makes sense, or where that sentence came from. Like if we'd had prior to that a discussion about walking things, walking inanimate objects, or walking animals you can't walk, like a dinosaur, or walking a cow. "Oh, walk a fish." Okay, that might be funny because we understand what we're talking about, right? We all understand what's going on in the game underneath this, the subtextual conversation. Right. So why do we laugh? Well, we laugh in this case. If that person said dog, we would have laughed because we'd all see it coming. And I'm expecting dog, and they say dog. And then I just laugh because, ha ha ha, I knew what was going on. I'm part of this. This is great. I feel good. That laughter is a release of the tension that happens when maybe I'm not going to be part of this group. So one of the reasons that to me anyway, that word of time works so well is every time you start, there is a possibility that for an audience member or someone watching this, they're going to lose a track of the conversation. This might be a time that they're the only ones that don't understand what's going on. And so when the sentence ends and they get it, oh, it's the release of the tension again and the laughter comes. Because once you start doing that, there's a bit of dissonance because we don't know where it's going. We don't know what the sentence is going to be, what's happening. And as it starts to coalesce and we've had our period of divergence, well, we're beginning the sentence and now we're converging towards the goal. And we all see that goal coming and we all arrive at the same point at the same time. We laugh at how wonderful it is. There's another exercise that I warm up almost all my classes with, which is the game called I Am A, which involves 3 people, one at a time, and we make patterns or images or games, or well, there's different rules for how the 3 things are related. So one person starts and they say, for example, I am a plane. Actually, let me try another one. The first person walks out and says, I'm a sea. And second character walks out, or person walks out and says, I'm B. So that B contextualizes the first C as the letter C. The second character participant could have walked out and said, I am an ocean. And then my C, the first C would be SEA, not the letter C. Or the second character walked out and said, I am here, or I am smell. Then we got so that first C is SEE. So the second person contextualizes it. And then the third person is supposed to follow that pattern. So if I'm C and the second character is B, the third person, the best choice is A, or some other letter of the alphabet. Not to come out all of a sudden and say, I'm an ocean. Because if you had, I'm a C, I'm a B, I'm the ocean. Again, that's not going to be funny. No one's going to laugh at that. They're going to go like, well, that's odd. It's weird. I don't get it. I don't know what's happening. They're not going to laugh. Everybody's going to go up in their head. They're going to panic a little bit, thinking they're the only ones who don't have it. They're going to be thinking hard about trying to make it all make sense so they feel better about themselves. But it's not going to work. So, but that's what the tendency is for people to do. Is I can't say A because that's too obvious. Say the obvious thing because that will be inclusive. That will include people. They'll relate to it better. So why do we laugh? We laugh because we know what's going on, because we're a part of something. And I'm not going to go into it today, but dissonance, the thing that creates that imbalance or the panic that is relieved, is a big part of comedy. We need to have, before you can have the release of tension, you've got to build some tension. So it's the release of tension. It's recognizing that you belong, that you're part of this. And I just wanted to finish because I lost my train of thought about that game. I am so when the more obvious you are in this game, the more people will laugh. I had one just a couple days ago in the class, and I can't remember the exact one, but it was a title of something like a very well known oh yes, like Alice in Wonderland. Say it was something very similar to that. So the first person that went out was I'm Alice. The second person came out and said Wonderland, and then 2 of us very quickly ran in and both said in. So we completed the title, and the whole place went crazy. Like it was a huge laugh from everybody, because it was so relatable and it was so like I know Alice in Wonderland. That's why it's funny. That's why we laugh. It releases the tension because we know we found our group, our people, our tribe. I belong. I'm one of you. I'm in. I'm accepted. That's why it's funny. And that's why we laugh. That's a lot of the laughter, especially the belly laughter that you get in scenes, in shows, but also in the real world. You know, like there's this overwhelming drive a lot of us have to be impressive, to wow people. And all it does is it pushes people away. The best way is to be relatable. You will get people to like you a lot better that way. Anyway, that's my thing for today. Why we laugh. I think it's really interesting, and I encourage you to, when you laugh or when you hear people laugh, to figure out what that's about. Anyway, that's my time. Have a great rest of your week, everybody, and we'll see you back here next time for more SoCap Improv Comedy Podcast, brought to you by Pontius Pilates. That's right, they'll nail you to the wall with their hardcore workouts. Take care. Bye, everybody.